Police officers are trained to handle a variety of emergencies, crimes, accidents, and even the occasional bizarre situations. But what happens when law enforcement is faced with something they can't explain? Over the years, a few eerie encounters have left even the most seasoned officers scratching their heads. Today, we are diving into some of the most chilling paranormal calls that police officers have faced. In 2017, Gilbert, Arizona, police officers responded to a strange 911 call. The call came from Gilbert High School, but here is the twist. It was a Saturday, and the school should have been empty. Officer Dave Rich was the first to respond, but when he arrived, he found no one inside. The phone had dialed 911 on its own, seemingly without anyone touching it. Despite extensive investigations, no reasonable explanation was found. In fact, the officers on the scene were left with more questions than answers. Even more unsettling, security footage showed no one near the phone at the time of the call. Eventually, the case was dismissed by the authorities, but Officer Rich remained convinced that something supernatural had happened that day. He would later speak about the event after his retirement, noting that it was one of the strangest things he had ever encountered during his career. In February 1983, in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, a young man named Don Decker became a center of a chilling phenomenon that involved the devil's rain. Decker, a convicted thief, was given compassionate leave to attend his abusive grandfather's funeral. Afterward, he returned to his family's home and experienced disturbing paranormal events.
This is Donald Decker of Goldsboro when he was interviewed on the primetime national show Unsolved Mysteries back in the 80s for being known as Rain Man, a man who could actually make it rain. Now he's getting attention again, but this time he's facing federal arson charges.
It began with rainwater starting dripping from the ceiling of his house. Despite it being a dry day, the officers on the scene, including Sergeant John Hugh, were mystified. The rain didn't stop and came down in sheets, even though there was no rain outside and no plumbing issue inside the home. On top of that, Decker experienced violent physical reactions, including being thrown across the room by an unseen force. Claw marks appeared on his neck, and the officers were powerless to explain it.
I mean, it definitely wasn't a plumbing problem. It was just appearing and then flying around the room, and I was still wearing glasses at the time, and I was getting struck in the face with it. So it was really strange.
Walbert says it's a case, to this day, he has no explanation for.
There was something going on in the house, and I really don't know what it was. His explanation was that a relative had passed away and had something to do with it, but that came from him.
The strange phenomena did not end there. His brief possession experience after the mysterious rain stopped, Decker's experience continued while in jail. The rain reappeared in his prison cell. This time, Decker seemed to have control over it. Guards witnessed water droplets rolling up the walls and floating sideways, a sight that left them both confused and frightened. And when the prison warden visited, a small ball of water struck him in the chest. It wasn't until a visit from the prison chaplain, Reverend Blackburn, that the rain finally stopped. As the chaplain prayed, the evil scent in the air dissipated, and Decker seemed to calm down. His time in jail would forever be linked to these bizarre, unexplainable events, leading to more questions than answers. In 2015, a rescue operation in Utah turned bizarre when Officer Taylor Beddoes responded to a car accident. The vehicle had gone off the road and landed in a river. When officers arrived, they found Jennifer Grosbeck, the driver, dead, but miraculously, her 18-month-old daughter Lily was alive. What made the situation eerie, however, was the voice that the officers reported hearing. A woman's voice seemed to be calling for help, urging the officers to act quickly, but no one was around. They followed the voice, which ultimately led them to the car where little Lily was trapped. After rescuing the child, the voice ceased. While some might chalk it up to stress or hallucination, the officers involved remained convinced that it played a role in saving the child.